We're getting near the end. Marvel has been reprinting facsimile editions of every issue of Fantastic Four this year, starting in January with issue 1, and here we have issue 11 in November. This originally came out on November 1st, 1962. Now this came out 2 weeks ago, but I didn't feature it in my Comics Out Today video because mine arrived damaged and had to be reordered. So let's take a look inside. As you can see here, we have this new character, the Impossible Man. I've been having fun all year with this Waza ad, and I mentioned a few months back that an original copy from the 60s popped up on eBay of the Waza booklet that you send off for. And it was posted with an opening bid of $50 that you could make or make an offer, and I offered $75, and like I said before, he counter-offered me with $150 and upped the opening bid price to $150. I, of course, immediately declined and watched it set there for a week and not sell, and then had to be relisted. Well, for the ongoing saga of the Waza pamphlet, it was relisted again at $135 for several weeks, and then dropped down to $115 for several weeks, and then down to $85 for several weeks. Of course, nobody was buying it for any of that. And I thought maybe if he drops it again to $75, I will get it because that was my original offer. But, you know, I don't know. This guy kind of irritates me. $75 is a lot to spend for a 14-page pamphlet just because I was having fun with an ad. I don't know. I mean, I do collect old martial arts pamphlets and rarities and things like that. I probably would have bought it, but when it didn't sell for like the third week in a row at $85, he removed it from eBay and has not relisted it, and it's been about a week. It might be gone, and I'm not all that heartbroken. So let's get into the story. Here we have a line of adults and one child going to get the latest issue of the Fantastic Four comic, including the Fantastic Four themselves. And look, a police officer reading. Wouldn't that be something if like all adults in America were wanting to read comic books? I don't see that happening. And I like this. We have these kids playing Fantastic Four. You got this kid with the gloves on sticks to be Mr. Fantastic. This other kid leaping off a barrel with sparklers in his hands for the Human Torch. A girl hiding behind a lamppost to be Invisible Girl. You know, this very thoughtful Jack Kirby, very inventive and imaginative thinking here. And they get to actually meet the real Fantastic Four. It must be exciting. And now we have the first appearance of Willie Lumpkin, their mailman. But this is the first appearance of him in a comic book. He was actually created by Stan Lee 2 years earlier for a newspaper strip where he was a young man delivering mail. And I don't know if that newspaper strip was ever printed anywhere. I believe it was just a proposal that never took off. And they've co-opted the character into the Fantastic Four as an old man now, who was portrayed by Stan Lee in one of the Fantastic Four live-action movies. And he is bringing them their fan mail. And as you can see, Ben Grimm smashes his dumbbell together. You know, I have one of these antique dumbbells with the globes on the sides. Took a long time to track one down in my price range that actually had inexpensive shipping. Reed came up with a formula to turn the thing back into Ben, and now they are recounting a tale of their youth for the readers, actually. This is Reed talking about when he first met Ben. They were college roommates. Ben was the football star, Reed was the science man. And then they both went into the war together. I'm guessing this would have been around the time of the Korean War. Well, they actually say it here, so if you know the history of when we were at war with various places, maybe you can figure this out. Ben was a Marine fighter ace over Okinawa and the Guadalcanal. If I'm not mistaken, that's still the 1940s, so maybe not the Korean War. And Reed was working underground for the OSS as a freedom fighter. I don't know where that would be. And he talks about how he's always been in love with Sue ever since they were kids that lived next to each other. But she says, stop, don't talk about that because I don't want to hurt you because I have feelings for Namor, the Submariner, our arch nemesis. What a jerk. And now they talk about how they all ganged up on and bullied Ben into taking them into space so they could get hit by cosmic rays and turn him into a monster. And Sue snaps us back to reality by seeing all of the fan letters say that she does absolutely nothing for the team. She is the weakest non-essential member. I believe I've been saying that issue after issue. But it's her birthday, so wipe those tears away, Sue. Let's eat some cake. The end. The end? That was short. Now on to the letters page. I don't want to read that. Hey, it's a pinup page by the man of Sue's dreams, Prince Namor the Submariner. Moving on. Oh, okay. We've got another story in here. The Impossible Man. Check this dude out. What a design. So this is an alien from the planet Pop-Up in the 10th galaxy that comes to Earth for a vacation. And he can turn into anything. Here he is turning into a rocket. Here he is robbing a bank. Now he's made himself into bulletproof steel. The Fantastic Four come to say, "What's up, dude? You can't be robbing banks and such." And he talks about his home planet of Pop-Up, how it's so dangerous. All of the inhabitants have evolved to where they can turn into anything as a defense mechanism, including an interstellar rocket to come to Earth. Well, they try to pulverize him, and they can't do anything to him. He is impossible. He's just turning into anything, and they don't know what to do. He's causing so much havoc around the town, around the city, I should say. The army comes to capture him. Nobody can do a thing, except for the Human Torch, who hypnotizes him into unconsciousness. But he was faking. He just wanted to see if they really cared about him, and they do. And that's when Reed says, "Hey everybody, let's stop caring about him." And they walk away. Well, turns out he really just wants attention. They convince the entire world to ignore the Impossible Man. And they do, and he gets bored, and he leaves, never to return. Kind of a dumb story. In fact, Stan Lee in 1970 said this issue was the lowest selling issue of Fantastic Four. But Impossible Man did actually return 14 years later in 1976, and I think I'm going to get those comics. That is where Impossible Man convinces Galactus to eat his own planet of Pop-Up, in which he does, and gets such bad indigestion he dies. But what came out from Marvel the same time as Fantastic Four issue 11? Well, they only had 4 other comics out that day. Incredible Hulk issue 5, which would be the second to last issue. Journey into Mystery 88 with Thor. And then that was it for the superheroes. But they had Gunsmoke Western issue 74 and Love Romances issue 103. Now the next week they would release Tales of Suspense issue 38, which is my oldest Marvel comic. And that was the issue that came out right before they would debut Iron Man. But if you wanted more superheroes this month, you could go to DC and get a bunch of comics that had Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Green Lantern. And then Archie Comics, which I don't know, were they still called MLJ at the time? But either way, they had comics for The Fly and the Jaguar, which were their superheroes. So come back next month to see the final facsimile edition issue, number 12, where the Fantastic Four battle the Incredible Hulk. See ya!